Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into a legend you think you know and giving it a scientific twist. We're going to build a biological profile for one of the most fascinating creatures in modern folklore, the Arctic Sasquatch. Right, so when you hear Bigfoot, you probably picture a huge, hairy ape man, stomping through the forests of the Pacific Northwest. But what happens when that legend wanders way, way north, into a totally different and honestly, a much tougher world? That's exactly who we're talking about today.
So let's give it a name, shall we? Anthropoidipes ameriborialis sanctusnicolaus. Yeah, it's a bit of a mouthful. We're basically treating this legend like a real animal to see how mythology can twist and adapt. Think of it as a fun little thought experiment.
Okay, so to really get a handle on this creature, we have to figure out where it fits in the grand scheme of things. So, first up, let's unpack its family tree. And what's so cool about this is how it immediately makes the legend feel, well, more real. Look at this. It's placed right in the hominidae family. That makes it a relative of the great apes and, yeah, even us humans. This sets the stage, connecting it to the Bigfoot we all know before we get into what makes our Arctic version so incredibly different.
And here is where things really start to split. On the left, you've got your classic, shy forest ape. We all know the stories. But on the right, our sanctusnicolaus subspecies has a completely different job description. It's not just trying to survive out there. It has a purpose, a role to play.
So you have to ask, what kind of place could create a creature like this? To understand the animal, you first have to understand its home. And we're talking about the polar tundra, literally one of the most extreme environments on the entire planet.
And these aren't just, fun facts. This is a list of incredible challenges for survival. We're talking brutal cold, months of total darkness, and ground that's permanently frozen solid. Any living thing here has to make some seriously radical changes to survive.
And here's the key. Its location isn't just a random spot on the map. In this story, the Arctic Sasquatch is here for a very specific reason. Its environment gives it its entire purpose, putting it right at the heart of the North Pole legend. It's a major player. Which brings us to a really big question. In a frozen desert with pretty much nothing growing, how on earth does a giant creature like this find enough food to stay alive? Let's start with the basics. Your standard Sasquatch is an omnivore, right? It eats what it can find in the forest, a whole buffet of plants and animals. Pretty straightforward for a creature living in the woods. But our Arctic guy, it can't just snack on berries. It has to adapt. So, the thinking goes, it would have to eat like the other huge predator up there, the polar bear. And that means a complete diet shift to high-fat marine animals. It's the only way to get enough calories. Just look at that number, 9,000 calories every single day. That's the kind of massive furnace you need to power a creature this big and just to keep it from, freezing to death. It really drives home why it would have to be a top-tier predator. All right, now we get to one of the most interesting parts of the whole Sasquatch legend. Is it dangerous? But for our Arctic subspecies, there's a really unique twist. I mean, it's the first thing everyone wants to know, right? If you see a 7-foot-tall ape man in the wild, what's it gonna do? Well, for the common Sasquatch, pretty much all the stories say the answer is no. The behavior is always described as, trying to scare you off or just avoiding you completely, not attacking. They seem to just want to be left alone. But, once again, our Arctic cousin is different. This one doesn't just growl or throw rocks. According to the legend, it has a very, very strange tool for defense. And that tool is a Christmas tree. I know, it sounds wild, but it's such a brilliant piece of folklore. It works as a weapon for defense, as camouflage, and of course, for its main, more festive job. It perfectly blends the creature's practical needs with its place in the story, and this is where it all comes together. That incredible strength isn't for being aggressive, it's for a job. It's for hauling cargo and protecting the whole operation. In this story, he's not a monster. He's a guardian, a heavy lifter.
Now, like with any legend, the more you learn, the more you realize how much you don't know. And one of the biggest question marks is a really basic one. How does it make more of itself?
And this shouldn't really come as a shock. If the creature itself is a ghost, then its most private moments are going to be completely off limits. The folklore is basically silent on this. But we can use a little bit of logic here. If we accept the idea that it's a mammal and a primate, then some things just have to be true, right? We can guess that it gives live birth and raises its young just like every other primate out there. And this quote kind of brings us right back to the beginning. At its heart, even this super specialized festive version is still based on the idea of a shy, reclusive ape. That desire to stay hidden seems to run through every version of the Bigfoot story.
When you think about it, the evolution of this creature in our own minds, from a scary thing in the dark woods to a helpful guardian in a magical workshop, it really shows how much we love a good mystery. And it just makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other amazing stories are just waiting to be found in the most remote corners of the world?